I'm about to meet Britain's most vocal atheist, and I know I'm going to be challenged about the very nature of my faith. Richard Dawkins is an evolutionary biologist who first made his name 36 years ago with his seminal book, The Selfish Gene. Since then, he's achieved worldwide fame for his militant atheism. His best-selling book, The God Delusion, was a virulent attack on religion. For him, the supernatural aspects of religious belief are an affront to science.
We can never say that there definitely is no fairy. And that's the way I feel about God. God has the same status as fairies.
It's not my intention to convert Richard Dawkins. I just want to see if he's willing to admit that there's more to life than science, and more to religion than ignorance and superstition. We're meeting in the hallowed halls of the Royal Society, the institute dedicated to the pursuit of scientific excellence. Its motto, nullius in verba, take no one's word for it, is at the very heart of the discipline of science. This could be seen as the opposite of faith. But for me, religion at its best involves asking questions and challenging conventional assumptions. Will Richard see that we have something in common? I've asked him to read a letter he once wrote to his daughter.
Dear Juliet, now that you're 10, I want to...
It offers her a life lesson about the importance of thinking for yourself.
Next time somebody tells you something that sounds important, think to yourself, is this the kind of thing that people probably know because of evidence, or is it the kind of thing that people only believe because of tradition, authority, or revelation? And next time somebody tells you that something is true, why not say to them, what kind of evidence is there for that? And if they can't give you a good answer, I hope you'll think very carefully before you believe a word they say. She was 10 years old at the time, and I wanted to do the opposite of indoctrinate her. I wanted to ask her to think for herself.
So what would you say, for instance, about the Jewish tradition? The first duty of a Jewish parent to a Jewish child is to teach them to ask questions.
Admirable. That's exactly what the first duty seems to me should be. I would hope then that the parent would answer the questions on the basis of evidence rather than on the basis of tradition or scripture. That might be where we differ.
It is indeed the nature of my religion for tradition and scripture to play a central role. I believe the Bible records events that actually happened. Like God talking to Abraham, arguing with him, challenging him, God really did intervene in human history.
You don't really believe that Abraham talked to God and God bargained with him. This is some kind of symbolic parable that you're talking
It's
about?
clearly a parable, and the argument between God and Abraham is God giving Abraham a seminar in how to be a Jewish parent. Teach your child to argue. Teach your child to challenge.
I get the feeling that theologians, whether Jewish or Christian, almost don't bother to distinguish between that which is symbolic and that which is literal.
Tell me, when your daughter was 10, did you teach her theories or tell her stories?
Well, you make a good point, which is that there are times when stories get across a point better than telling it literally.
And when civilization was in its childhood.
Yes.
You tell it stories.
No, there's a lot to be said for parables, certainly, but what I want to know, and I always want to know this from theologians, Christian or Jewish, is, do you actually think it happened? Do you actually think that Abraham did truss Isaac on an altar and then let him off at the
I definitely think that something happened that made Jews value their children more than in any other civilization I know. I really think that God wanted Abraham and Jews from that day to this to know one thing above all others: don't sacrifice your children. Virtually every other culture in the ancient world sacrificed its children.
It's entirely admirable that these moral lessons should become enshrined in the culture of any people, and it's entirely admirable, especially it seems to have been enshrined in Jewish culture in a very big way. So something interesting happened in Jewish history which led to these admirable things. But I actually care about what's historically true.
So do I.
Yes, but do you think that Abraham really did truss Isaac on an altar? I want to know whether you think it's literally true.
Well, first of all, I think that story is a protest against the belief throughout the ancient world that parents own their children.
Yes, indeed.
And I think God is saying, don't think you own this one.
Yes.
No Jew owns his or her child. They have a life of their own, they have a mind of their own, and that is what I am reading from all these stories. These things happened, but they didn't happen as mere facts. They happened as morally instructive lessons whose full import we still haven't learned, because we are still allowing children to die every single day of malnutrition in the 21st century. We're still sacrificing our children.
Okay, I thoroughly applaud your statement that parents don't own their children, and I would extend that to we should not, as a society, make the assumption that a child belongs to the same religion as its parents, which we virtually all do. We assume that children will automatically be labelled with the religion of their parents, and I think that is wicked, and it goes with all the things you've just been saying about the wickedness of what we do to children.
It's a point on which Richard and I will never agree. For me, we have to give our children an identity, a heritage, a story of which they are a part. Will Richard have more time for a recent study from Harvard University that offers evidence that religion can be a force for good? Religious people are more likely than secular people to give money to charity, to do voluntary work, to give money to a homeless person. Would that be evidence?
Yes, it would. I mean, I've seen counter evidence to that. It is disputed. Even if that were true, it doesn't bear in any way on the truth of religious claims about the universe, which is what I care about. You can't say that because I have evidence that religious people are more likely to give blood or give money to charity, therefore what they believe about God or the Trinity or whatever it might be is more likely to be true. It has nothing to do with it.
Richard Dawkins is renowned for proselytizing about the damage religion can do. But he's also acknowledged that in the wrong hands, science can be just as terrifying. You actually said, and I think very wisely and courageously, that when you take Darwinism and turn it into a social philosophy, it becomes very dangerous.
It can become very dangerous, and if you take it, especially if you take it in a naive way, it can become Nazism. If we based our politics on a naive interpretation of Darwinism, we'd living in a kind of
Darwinian universe in which the strong eliminate the weak.
And I've frequently argued against that. I frequently said I'm a passionate Darwinian when it comes to understanding how we got here. But I'm a passionate anti-Darwinian when it comes to deciding what kind of society we want to live in.
So I just wonder, since that you say that Darwin is one of the greatest scientist in recent centuries, and at the same time you point out the way that Darwin has been misused, and you don't let the fact that it's been misused compromise your admiration for Darwin. Could you not also understand that in certain ways religion has been misused, and that should not compromise at least some of us admiring and respecting the greatness of the great religions?
I agree that it has been misused. I think what I would say, however, is that an unquestioning faith, and I accept that Judaism is a bit unusual because questioning is favoured, but an unquestioning faith justifies somebody who says, I don't have to argue with you. I don't have to give you my reasons. My faith tells me that X is the right thing to do. Now, if a child is brought up to think that faith trumps evidence or trumps reason, then that child could be equipped to do something truly terrible.
This is precisely what I think is the common ground between us. I don't minimize the differences. The common ground between us is that you and I are committed to questioning, to the use of critical intelligence, to valuing human rights and the dignity of the human person. And you acknowledge that there have been times when science has been misused, but the answer to bad science is not no science.
Yes.
It's good science.
Yes, science,
And I acknowledge that religion has sometimes been misused, but I argue that the answer to bad religion is good religion, not no religion.
Yes.
And so even though there is this gap between us, you are not religious and I am, and I'm not seeking to change you on this, could we not work together to value human rights, human dignity, where we engage in the collaborative pursuit of truth?
Yes, it's clear that we could. I mean, it's clear that people of goodwill, wherever they're coming from, could and should work together. Science can be hideously misused. Indeed, if you want to do terrible things, you better use science to do it, because that's the most efficient way to do anything.
Religion and science have been set up as polar opposites, but it appears that Richard Dawkins and I might have found a way to work together. So, Richard, if I can sum up our conversation, despite clearly major differences between us, I think we've found major areas of agreement and commonality, a respect for truth, openness, a willingness to question, and the collaborative pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. And you've agreed that as we think our way through the very challenging problems of the 21st century, a conversation between us might give both of us humility, but might give both of us a fresh perspective. Now, if we can actually agree to walk hand in hand towards the future on that basis, I think that's a tremendous source for both optimism and hope.
I'll go along with that. Amen to that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I feel that we've made a real breakthrough. It's the first time I've ever heard Richard be so open to my position on science and religion. Well, I think that was a bit of an epiphany. You know, he met me more than halfway, and I actually felt something of the magic of the power of a conversation when two people really open to one another. And that allows each of us to move beyond our normal positions. And I really think that's what happened. And if it is really so, and I believe it is, that we do have so much in common, then that is a very strong argument for saying that there can be a great partnership between religion and science.